storing your empty bottle in the garbage?
Don't you know plastics go in the blue container?
Mayor Frank Jackson and the City of Cleveland are committed to keeping your neighborhood clean and green through the use of the city-issued trash and recycling carts. It's safe, convenient, and mandatory. For more information, contact the Cleveland Division of Waste Collection at 216-664-3717.
How did you get to be so smart?
I had a good teacher.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. We appreciate you coming out, especially, as I said earlier, during the holiday seasons. We're here. The council is here. We want to listen to you. The purpose of this meeting is the first in a series that we're going to be doing across the city of Cleveland. We want to get a chance for folks to express their concerns, give their ideas as we face some of these challenges. This has been a tough few weeks for the city of Cleveland. We mourn the death of a young man. We mourn the death of a young lady. We mourn the death of all the folks that we have lost through violence in the city of Cleveland. And it's a chance for us to kind of refocus and reset, especially in light of receiving findings from the Department of Justice. So what we wanted to do as a council is hear from you. All of you are important stakeholders in the future of this city. Many of you have important ideas that we need to listen. So my colleagues were here as a part of the City Council Safety Committee. I'll introduce the chairperson, and we'll lay out some of the concept of these meetings. But there's no speeches, no proclamations. It is here for us to listen and absorb. Because ultimately, when you have periods of time and turmoil, it's also important to take a step back and refocus. And that's what we're here to do. I'm going to ask Pastor Benjamin Goldston to come up and give us our benediction. Pastor. Or opening prayer. Quick meeting. We're not going to waste too much time, so we'll go right to the benediction. All right, Pastor.
Let us bow our heads. You who are the creator and great lover of our souls, we give you praise. For you have given us life, you have given us favor, you have cared for us, and you have provided for us. We pray now that you would manifest your spirit fresh and anew in this place, that all we say and do tonight in this room will magnify and glorify your name. In the name of he who gives us life, and life more abundantly, we all pray. Amen.
Please join me as we stand and we offer the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Introduce Kevin. Okay. As I mentioned before, this is a city council meeting. We're joined by the president of council. His name is Mr. Kevin Kelly. He's elected from Ward 13. I'd like to call him up and give us a few remarks. Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out, and thank you for welcoming me to Ward 1. You've got a great councilman here, and I really enjoy coming out to the community. I also want to introduce Councilman Jeff Johnson, Councilman Joe Simperman, who is with us tonight, and in a minute I'll introduce Councilman Matt Zone. As we all know, earlier this month, the Department of Justice released its findings of its investigations that looked into police practices following the police chase, the deadly police chase of November 2012. The release of this document, of these findings, came right on the heels of several very tragic events, both nationally and locally here in Cleveland. And it seemed that since the release of that, it seems to have kind of awoken some emotions and feelings that have been festering or raging for years. And there's a problem here that we as a community need to solve. And one thing we're committed to is that the first step in your elected officials solving this issue is that we must listen to the people of the community. We have to listen to you. Many of you may not have been able to come down to a council meeting on a Monday night, but yet you live in the city of Cleveland, and it's really you that we want to hear from. So I'm not going to talk long, but I just want to express to you very clearly that your city council, your elected officials, we hear you loud and clear, and we want to hear more. We're here to listen. We care. We care deeply. We're all members of the Cleveland community. I'm raising my 5 kids in the city of Cleveland, and what happens in one part of the city of Cleveland happens on, as far as I'm concerned, happens on my street. We're all one Cleveland. And we will get better. We will use this experience to be better. We'll use the DOJ report and the consent decree that comes from it to improve police-community relations in the community of Cleveland. And you have my commitment that when the consent decree is agreed upon by the Department of Justice in the city of Cleveland, your city council will live and breathe that document until each action item has been accomplished, so that every member of the city of Cleveland has faith, confidence, and trust in the Division of Police. And we are here to work with you. Tonight is step 1. We are here to listen to you. With that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to the chairman of our Public Safety Committee, Councilman Matt Zone. Councilman Zone has been very engaged in this process since before the release of the DOJ report, and he really pushed the idea of starting with these listening tours, of getting out in the community and listening to what people have to say. So other council members will be joining us as the evening rolls on. But again, we are here to listen. Please feel free to call my office anytime. We want to be here for you. We are in this with you. So thank you. Councilman?
Thank you, Council President Kelly, and to my other colleagues who are here, and Reverend Golston. Thank you for that beautiful prayer, putting us in the right frame of mind. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Tonight, we are here as a community. We are coming together through, I think, what will be a thoughtful public engagement. And over the course of the next several months, Cleveland City Council will be doing our due diligence in reviewing the findings of the Department of Justice report. As we begin that process, Council is looking forward to hearing from you on how we currently police our city, how we investigate police complaints, and equally important, how the community can work with its leadership and the police department to build a stronger Cleveland. We realize that the key ingredient to achieve that success will be trust. And gaining that trust is a comprehensive effort that will not be achieved overnight. This effort can begin immediately with each positive interaction with one another, and knowing that our interaction can build a brick on that foundation. Mutual respect is the mortar that will hold these bricks together. And tonight is the first of City Council's listening tours, and over the course of the next several months, City Council will listen. We'll give considerable consideration to what we hear. And once we are done, Council plans to issue a report on what we heard from the community, and we will share that document with the Department of Justice, with Mayor Jackson, with the Cleveland Police, and the greater community. Tonight will be your opportunity to record your comments on the record, which will serve as the basis of our report. This evening's meeting is being recorded live on Channel 20. or being recorded. It'll be replayed live on Channel 20. We will archive all of this information, as well as the testimony that we hear tonight. But for purposes of this meeting, tonight we encourage everyone to share your views and concerns. We understand and recognize that emotions are running high, but we respectfully ask that you don't make your comments personal. We're here to listen and to hear constructive ideals and criticism. So we welcome that. I'm also asking that those in the audience be polite, allow everyone the opportunity to have their say at the microphone. We know there will be some disagreements, but let's be respectful and hear everyone's view. So I'd ask that we try to have a good civil conversation tonight. When you arrived, you were asked to sign in. For those of you who did, I want to thank you. For those of you who didn't, I want to encourage you to sign in. That will become part of our final report. And those of you who would like to make a statement, I'd ask that you'd line up here. We know the line could get long because hopefully most of you want to say something tonight. So maybe we can take them up in sections. When you make a comment, I'd ask that you state your name and your city and your ward. If you don't live in the city of Cleveland, that's okay. We want to know if you live in Shaker Heights or if you live in Denver, Colorado. That's okay. We ask that you make your remarks brief because we have a lot to cover in the next couple of hours. So does everyone understand kind of how this process in this meeting is going to go? Okay, great. I appreciate your support and cooperation, and I'd like to ask those who want to make a comment to line up, and let's begin with this gentleman here. Hold on one second. Oh. So we've been joined by a couple more of my council colleagues, Councilman Brian Cummins and Councilman Michael Polensek. Sir, please.
Thank you, sir.
Hold on, wait. I don't think the microphone's on yet. Wait till the mic kicks in. In addition to the comments that are being recorded live on by Channel 20, we also have John James, who's from our policy and research team at Cleveland City Council. We will be recording every comment. So, sir, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. My name is Pierre Napier. I'm a resident of Maple Heights, the city that Timothy Russell was massacred in the 137 bullet massacre in East Cleveland. The reason I'm here tonight is because I have a deep belief in the democracy of this nation. I had an opportunity over at Mount Olive Church the other night to question the gentleman from the United States Justice Department. And he told me, I asked him the question, have you ever prosecuted, as a prosecutor, prosecuted a white police officer that had killed a black citizen? And his answer was no. That invalidates, I don't know whether invalidate or validate that 58 document that they put together. Every black American in this room tonight, whether he or she will admit it or not, they have in some form, fashion, been victimized by the Cleveland Police Department. I want to read this here statement. Homeland Security should be called in to protect poor black Americans from the neo-Nazi movement within the ranks and leadership of the Cleveland Police Department. The Cleveland Police Department are domestic terrorists who continue to use neo-Nazi tactics to suppress and kill black Americans. These actions are the same used by the terrorists on 9/11 when they bombed the Twin Towers in New York. The 13 neo-Nazi police must not be allowed to return to our community to continue to kill poor black Americans. They are the same as Anthony Sowell and Ariel Castro. The spread of domestic terrorism in the black community by the police with possible ties to the Taliban causes the black community to continue to live in fear, impacting the quality of life for black Americans. This is the last statement I'll read. I am Pierre Napier, the storyteller for freedom. On Sunday, November 23rd, 2014, at 6:30 p.m., outside the Cordell Recreation Center, I spoke with 12-year-old Ariel Brown at the site of the barbaric killing of Tamir Jackson Rice by the neo-Nazi Cleveland police officer Timothy Loehmann, the shooter, and Frank Goldman. The 12-year-old child, a friend of Tamir Rice, called the killing of her friend a hate crime, and I need everybody in Washington to hear this, a hate crime. Stated her feelings as sincere as an adult would, but she is not an adult. So what's next? Do we as citizens again sit back and wait for Mayor Frank Jackson, who won't take a stand, to hold meetings of propaganda and deception, allowing more killings to happen and then judge as justifiable? The killing is the start of a war on 12-year-old children by the neo-Nazi movement in the ranks and leadership of the Cleveland Police Department with possible ties to the domestic terrorist Taliban, as well as the ISIS movement. May God bless all 12-year-old children living in Cleveland, Ohio, and keep them safe from all harm. May the peace of the Lord be with each of them. I extend my heartfelt love and prayers on the death of 12-year-old Tamir Rice. To God give the glory, by Pierre Napier, the storyteller. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Napier. For those, you can see the line's a little long, so let's let it shrink a little, and then people come on up. I just don't want people standing all night. Sir, please, your name?
My name is Michael Fordham. I live in Ward 6 in the Larchmere community. And President Kelly said that the council is here to listen, and he said that council is here, or we will get better. And at this stage of the juncture, I don't think we can do nothing but get better. But I guess my comment in question is, in the case of the officers that shot the 2 victims in East Cleveland, and it was reported that the travel speed was no more than about 35 to 40 miles an hour, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But it also said that the only spike chain that the city had or the police department had was malfunctioning. And I'm asking about training. And I know that officers can bump vehicles and move them to the side and stop vehicles, because I know today those 2 people should be alive, and they're not. In the case of Mr. Rice, whatever happened in terms of training where police officers would take cover behind their vehicles if they felt threatened by a perpetrator. So I guess my question and my comment is, how do you really investigate the police? How do you really investigate the police? How do you investigate them after they do horrendous acts in our community against our young people? This city is saddened by the death of Tamir Rice, more than you can imagine. This was a young man, according to his school teachers, his peers, everyone, was an excellent young man, and was just probably out having fun and not knowing that he would end up never thinking that as a result of having fun that he would be dead. So I really want the council to really search not only the investigative process, but search your hearts and search your souls. Because our city, as much as we go downtown and all the sports and all the activities that's happening down here, it's not coming out to our community. What's coming out to our community is a lack of community policing, a lack of police officers getting to know the community that they patrol. And most importantly, you may want to consider beginning to put police officers in communities that the community can identify with. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fordham.
Good evening, James Lamb, Cleveland, Ohio, Ward 3. I'm here tonight because I sit in front of each and every last one of you, Monday after Monday. I know for a fact that we want, or some of us want, to blame. And we want to blame. First of all, they say blame. They say get rid of McGrath. They say get rid of Flash. They say get rid of Frank Jackson. I'm going to be real with you. I deal with them all. They all know me. We conversate every day. Here's my thing. If it's to be any one of them or to go, let it be, but let it be because of the fact that we did our job as a due diligence. Okay? Council have to start. You have a safety chair that's set in city council for 8 years of Frank Jackson's term. 8 years. There's a judge in this courtroom, in this room tonight, that I sat in front of for 5 months. Lord knows, I can tell you this. I went to the jail because as a president of a tenant organization, they didn't like me. So I went to jail for it. I found out that taking medication, they didn't even have it. When I went and complained, I didn't go to no one but Marty Fleiss. I found out that Kevin Conwell was supposed to spend $1 million for drugs in the city jail, and it was only spent at least not even a quarter of what he used. Okay, so it was 25 drugs in inbox then. It's 125 now. So in order to get rid of anybody, let's first start doing our job, okay? We got to do our job. As the chair of safety, as a safety board, you had the right to to put your foot in the neck and in the back of the chief and of the director, where it gets to the mayor. The justice system been here since 2005. We ain't just finding out we having problems. We ain't just finding this out. This ain't no new thing. This ain't no new thing, y'all. And I tell y'all this every week. I stop you every week. Some of you run from me because you know I'm telling the truth. This is not a factor of, well, it just happened. So I'll catch up with it. I'll catch up with it now because it just happened. Because in the 8 years as Kevin sitting there, I can recall 10 deaths. And one was on Ashbury, two doors up from his house. He stood out there for them with the cameras for 10 minutes and it never recorded again. So don't use the position of our love for y'all, okay, as a toy. Please don't be a toy. Don't use us as a toy. Because you say you come out and you want to hear what we got to say. But I know this for a fact, and I'm going to say this, I'm gone. Each and every last one of you. You're only downtown for 5.5 to 6 months a year. You say you're in the community when you leave. So why we just now having these type of meetings, I cannot get around to understand it. I just cannot get around to understanding it.
Okay.
If I sit on the board of aging and disabilities, I was with James Kimmick last week. I cracked that girl, 37 years old, lost her life because she was, they say, mental disease, say cognitively delayed. Okay? First of all, if you're going to have a job, learn about it. Politics is not a game. It should be government. You was a politician when you was running. You became an elected official when you won. When you won, you were supposed to come take care of us. You was to come take care of us. You're crying about everything but jobs. You're crying about everything but jobs. But we giving Eddie Levert $12,000 to stand in Woodhill Park. Come on now. You talk about the streets, but you ain't using the money logically. Let's be real.
Hold on. No. Sure. Again, we're here to listen. Mr. Wade, Mr. Lamb, I appreciate your comments. I do want to share with the community that this council is committed to hearing your concerns, and that's why we're coming out and listening, and so thank you for that. Please, your name. This is a listening tour. This is not a two-way conversation. If any of you, sir. I think everyone agreed at the front end of the meeting we were going to have a thoughtful conversation. We're here to listen. We're not here to place blame or make accusations against anyone. We're here to talk about solutions. Please, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm Dorinda Johnson, and one of the things that I've thought of since I've been here this evening is that a lot of employers look at patterns, and I don't know that they necessarily do that with the police department. So when patterns start developing, a lot of employers will have concerns and look into it a little bit more closely to see if it can end up developing into a problem. Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to address the Rice situation with the fact that my concerns with the Rice situation is that has anyone had any concerns to address matters concerning kids' fears dealing with other students? Kids' fears in schools just everywhere. So since we have so many nationwide shootings, are we developing a problem with children interacting with other children and being comfortable and feeling safe with that? Also, I wanted to, another concern of mine is that the concern to remove guns, toy guns. I didn't know if that's gonna, is it better for men and women employment opportunities to not gain experience from situation like that, from having those toy guns accessible to them? Is it that, and also would a removal of toy guns lessen the employment opportunities and hinder occupation outlook for a sector of people in a certain type of positions that involves guns?
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Please, sir, come on.
Good evening. My name is Akil Hashim. I'm from the Ward number 9. I think it's 9 or 8, but I'm from Glenville, other side of town.
You got it.
I'm here tonight with some solutions.
Sure.
But I want to make a very, very important statement first. I was born during the what they call the Civil Rights Movement. Now, what I'm finna do here is I'm finna put the horse in front of the cart instead of the cart in front of the horse. So I'm going to let you know that you're talking to somebody this evening that know what's going on here.
Okay.
So let me begin. Let me give my people this evening some history. First, the history I want to give you. This meeting today, let's not get twisted, is about blacks getting killed in black communities. That's what this is about. Now I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to go back to when we first came to this country. We didn't come on our own. There was a crime committed against us. We was kidnapped and brought here. And from the first day that we were brought here, we have not been treated right as citizens, and we are told that we have civil rights. But I'm here today, take a look at me. I'm a human being. I'm a person. I'm a human being. I'm a person. And I have a heritage and I have a culture. And before we can even move and continue to put Band-Aid solutions on the black man and black woman problems here in America, we first got to address the racial problem here in America. And we do have one. Now I'm going to tell you this. See, I teach my children the truth. I teach my children we don't have civil rights, we have human rights. We have the rights of every human being on the planet, but y'all won't say it. I know it. That's why I feel good. But white society won't allow us to be a part of this society with our own culture and our own heritage. Your laws don't work for us. And I'm gonna keep it real. I came here tonight, I got harassed. I get harassed all the time, but see, I know who the wolf is and I know who the fox is. And the brother that was before me said it well. See, I'm tired of telling the fox to watch the hen house. And then when I come back to the fox got a mouthful of feathers talking about, I didn't eat nothing. This is how you do us in our community. But I'm here today to let you know you got a black man in the black community. I love my family. I'm going to preserve, protect, defend like every other human being on the planet does. And I want to tell you about this great country. If we were citizens, you wouldn't do us like you're doing us. And I'm going to tell you this too. It hurts when you have to get up every morning. I've got my first grandson. I got all girls. And I'm out in the community making strong black men so they can defend my daughters. I'm not going to keep coming to these meetings telling y'all what to do because y'all know what to do. But see, I'm a man. I'm a man of God, and I know how to take care of my business and defend my community. Every other human being on the planet can do this, but you tell us to be patient, to be understanding. You keep telling us we shall overcome. Well, when? What day? What day? I grew up during that era. And this little police Band-Aid stuff, the police ain't never been our friends in our community. We ain't gonna never be friends with the police until we deal with this racism in America. Pete.
Good evening. My name is Martha Brown. I'm from Ward 1, and I'm also the president of the Lisaville Miles Citizen Council. And I just wanted to share just a couple of improvements or suggestions that I see for the police department and the safety department. I feel that it needs to be more visible police patrol within the neighborhood. You don't see that many policemen walking or in their car during the evening, morning, and the late hours. And that is a big problem because if you don't have visibility, the neighbors don't have confidence in the police, and the only time they come is when there's an incident. Second, I feel that there needs to be a return of the mini police station, and the reason for that is because there needs to be more communication face-to-face near us for all of the residents and others to come to share their concerns, also bring up issues that may come up that they're unable to contact the police on their own. Also, I feel that the DARE program or a similar type program should come back. That's the one with the students in the Cleveland Municipal School System. At one time, it was about drugs and the police officers. It should be some education by that area in order for our children to understand what it means to see a police officer, what they need to do as a citizen as well. And lastly, for community meetings, Ward 1 and also at the Lisaville Miles Citizen Council, I want to thank Commander McCauley because he does come to all of our meetings, and prior to Captain Sheehan's retirement, he came to our monthly meetings to address the public, and that's in the Lisaville Miles Citizen Council membership, to hear the exact problems, and we appreciate that, but we also feel that there needs to be continuation of that in all neighborhood organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, for those excellent suggestions. Sir.
My name is Dio, and I manage the Greater Cleveland Cop Block. I've been out here filming police for 3 years. What I've found, what I've run into, is an attitude by these police officers, either comply or die. Okay? That's not the way it's done. This report is 58 pages, 600 incidences of police abuse in Cleveland alone. This is a nationwide problem. Police abuse is a problem nationwide, okay? You guys have had all this time to do something about it, and if it's not for a 12-year-old being dead, you wouldn't be doing shit right now, okay? The police here have a definite problem with their training, first of all. You have the guy who shot Tamir Rice, who should have never been given a gun in the first place. Okay? I don't want to hear that. No, you're supposed to listen to me, so listen to me.
I want to listen,
okay?
but I just ask you to respectfully respect the women and the elderly in this room, no profanity.
That's fine, because the only thing I have left is to say to the people in this room, not to you guys. And what I have to say to the people in this room is that the Cleveland police acknowledge that you have the right to film the police. So go out there and do it, okay? Do it because it's your right to do it, and do it because these police badges do not grant them extra rights. They're the same as you and me, okay? Hold them accountable. You guys have to be the ones to hold them accountable. They're not going to do it themselves. Police do not investigate themselves very well. I think we see that right here.
Thank you. Just before the next speaker, I just want to create some clarity here. We're the legislative branch of government. We don't administer the police. We're here to listen. What we're hoping to do is influence on how there's community policing. So we're here to listen. I just want to make that distinction. Please, sir, you're up next.
I'm Keith Smith, Ward 1. Okay.
Tell me your name again, sir.
Keith.
Keith Smith.
Okay, this is what's going on. You guys are held responsible. Okay? One, let's get to the facts. Your mayor that you love so much, Frank Jackson, has offered these guys a budget and said, guess what? We'll give you a 3% raise, and I ask for 4% back. That's one. I've heard them say it over and over again. Two, in which you want to solve the problem, is one, hire more policemen and put them on patrol and quit saying we can't afford it. You can afford downtown to fix $10, $20, $30 million for the city hall or public square. But what's your first line of defense? Fire, police, EMS. You're the quarterback. They got to protect you, okay? Which means protect us, okay? You don't take care of those three, you don't have nothing, okay? And that's Frank Jackson, and you guys are all responsible, okay? You get a budget, and you say, first thing you say, okay, let's take care of EMS, fire, and police. Let's give them so many, millions of dollars and improve the equipment. I hear them say equipment, training, and I joke with these guys. I call them millionaires. They make more money than I have made in my entire life. But without them, EMS and fire, you have nothing. But you're worried about downtown. You're worried about everything else. You guys just passed a budget to do public square. Public square is fine. How about these guys? They need more money, more policemen out there, okay? Now you heard what the State Department said. They came in and said, guess what, guys? You're not doing it right. The training's wrong, okay? It falls on you guys. I'm not mad at y'all because you're playing games. I don't play games. There's one thing about me. If you think you want to solve the problem, start with these guys. Take care of home first. Don't take care of downtown. These are your backbone.
Thank you.
This is your backbone.
Okay.
Those three, without those three, you don't have nothing. This city goes to hell. Now, as far as the shooting is concerned, I'm a little mad at these guys because they're stressed. I understand that. And it is a racial thing a little bit because that many black policemen. I talked to a sergeant during the chase over there in East Cleveland. You know what he told me? He said, the car was coming towards me, and I said, why don't you use the police car as the block car? Use the lead car. He said, I didn't want to get workman comp. Okay, that's what he told me. He's a sergeant. He's a black sergeant. I'd rather take my gun out and shoot. I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I took patrol administration. If you're in a patrol car and the car's coming towards you, use your car as a shield to stop the car. Okay? Then worry about that later. Okay? You don't get out there and say, well, I'm going to shoot, then, protect the car and don't worry about a broken ankle. Okay?
Okay.
Take care of the front line first, then everything else will fall in line.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good. My name is Kimberly F. Brown, and I am a resident of Ward 1, Cleveland. My question is to the entire City Council. It is great that you guys are having this listening tour, but from my research, the City of Cleveland is the only municipality that does not allow residents to actually speak at City Council meetings. That is a direct violation of our freedom of speech issues and the Constitution. Now, it's all great and fine and fancy that you're out here today to listen, but I would like to know first and foremost, because you guys are here, is how are you going to restore that unwritten piece of legislation that you have that simply says that residents cannot speak? The fact of the matter is that if you allowed us to speak, maybe we wouldn't have to be here today, because maybe the issues would have been resolved a long time ago. But here's what happens, is that you get elected and then you shut us out. This is our community. We own homes here. We just can't get up and move because we don't like something. I'm not a renter. I'm a homeowner. So I am going to ask every single council member here to go back and talk about how you're going to allow us to come down to City Hall during your council meetings to talk about our issues, number one. Number two, let's talk about the DOJ report. I think that's very important. I've been to several meetings, and there's one thing that keeps sticking out about, once you guys get the consent decree, then therefore you'll have an independent monitor. Well, we know about the City of Cleveland, and this is my suggestion. Who's going to monitor the monitor? So my suggestion is that not only should the monitor be an independent source from the outside, but then there should be an elected, individual, independent source group of people to monitor that individual. That way we can create an adequate check and balance on the systems. So therefore, when you guys have press release, whatever the case may be, that individual monitor should be able to tell us that what you guys are reporting is accurate, okay? And then lastly, let me ask you this. There's a situation regarding the Police Citizen Review Board now. Dr. Eugene Ward of, I think his church is Greater Friendship. I could be mistaken about that. What is it, Greater Love? Greater Love. Missionary Baptist Church, very good. He told the news that every time a police got sanctioned and the situation had to be reviewed, that there was some type of distortion because the recommendations that were made by the group, by the time it was going up the chain of command, things were altered. So at this particular time, we know here again, you can't be trusted. So because you can't be trusted, this is the time where you have to get an elected Citizen Review Board. We don't trust appointments. Appointments have not served us well. If you want us to respond to you and respect you as council and leaders, then do what leaders are supposed to do. Take care of the community that elected you. Thank you.
Blessings to all. My name is Marva Patterson, and I am a Christian community activist. Amazing. I was thinking about residency. I've been a resident of Ward 7 for nearly 50 years until a fraudulent foreclosure hit us. We are City Mortgage versus Patterson. I know we're not here to discuss foreclosures, but it's something we need to address because 60% of foreclosures happen in Cuyahoga County. We have lessened the blacks and the minorities in Cuyahoga County, and we need to rectify this. We're dealing with a forgery and no one is answering anything. We filed a report, and this is part of the problem with the police department. As a minority, they're not listening to us. We filed criminal charges in January. This January 23rd will be a year. No answer. We filed many complaints regarding this, as most of us who deal with issues with the police are filing complaints and they're going on deaf's ear. We have a situation out there where people are constantly being abused, and I will just discuss briefly one particular case, Rebecca Whitby, daughter, Rebecca Whitby, mother. In 2009, Rebecca Whitby, daughter, she was a college student. She was beaten up by the police in her home. She filed a report that went unanswered. She described everything that happened to her. And once she filed that report, the police then issued a warrant for her arrest, stating she was armed and dangerous. We collected numerous reports that these officers filed, inconsistencies. The bottom line, when it hit the grand jury, she was released with no formal charges until these officers had a warrant for her arrest. Nearly 2 years after that, she did go to trial. The jury was in tears. They found her not guilty until the judge, and I will say his name, Daniel Gallen, please check this out, read these reports. He looked constantly at the papers. Once he received the verdict, yes. He shifted the papers. Then he said, oh, spit. Yes, spittle. Felony. She has a felony. And so does her mother, because her mother tried to protect her daughter. And today, their lives are in turmoil. Neither one can find a good job. The mother was working for an insurance company during this time. A felony, you cannot get a good job. Nowhere. So they're asking for help. They would be here tonight, but it's impossible. They can't afford to come to places like this. But we do try to work it out and get them to some places. But what I am asking, no longer asking, I'm requesting. Someone look into this case. Help Rebecca. Help her mother to get back on track. And these officers need to be brought up on charges, because that's a problem. They file these reports. No one cares because we're minorities. No one is listening to us when we complain. We go to our officials. Our complaints is thrown in the trash. So we're saying, we need you. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just saying it's time now to come together, because minorities are important. No matter who you are, all of us. And as a Christian, you look into your heart. You ask, what would Jesus do? We have to love one another, because we all want to raise our children in a community of safety, compassion, and love. And we ask this for our leaders. Thank you.
Ms. Patterson, hold on a second. Before you, I'd like you to speak with Mr. John James. Give him your name and contact information. I think there's some things that maybe some resources down at City Hall could look further into that and see what we can do to help you.
This was one of the DOJ's cases.
Yeah, I see that.
So it is in the report.
So, if you will, just Mr. John James right there at the white shirt. Hold on, David. You heard the council president make an announcement that several of our colleagues were out in community meetings, and they're trickling in. I want to thank Councilwoman Phyllis Cleveland, who's our majority leader, for being here. Councilman Martin Kane for joining us as well, for being here as well. Mr. Patterson, please.
My name is David Patterson. I'm the president of the Carl Stokes Brigade, and I'm a resident of the city of Cleveland. First of all, I want to say our deepest regards go out to the family of Amir Cotton. We attended his funeral service this afternoon. Many of the members of the Carl Stokes Brigade went, and he was a nephew of our beautiful Genevieve Mitchell. So we want to continue to make sure that the issue of Amir Cotton doesn't get lost, and that they continue to search for whoever committed this heinous crime. I'd like to say briefly that when we started this meeting, we did the Pledge of Allegiance, and that sort of crystallized what we're dealing with, because most African Americans do not believe we're one nation under God. We just don't believe that. We're not treated that way. And, you know, the way that black men are being gunned down in the streets makes one have to ask the question, do these police officers even consider us human? You have to ask that question. The 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868, and this segues into what I'm talking about in terms of a pattern of mistreatment of African Americans, subjugation. Just over 100 years after that amendment, in our White House, our sitting president, Richard Nixon, said these words to his chief of staff, H.R. Haldeman, and his other staff member, John Ehrlichman. He said, and I quote, "The whole problem is really the blacks. The key is to devise a system that recognizes this while not appearing to." Now, if this is the thought of our sitting president, how does that trickle down to the rest of Caucasian America? You answered that question. Slavery, for all intents and purposes, does not really end. It just metamorphosizes. We're being victimized in all regards. But slavery just morphed to the ill-fated Reconstruction period, then to the black codes, then to the Jim Crow laws, and then to the advent of the prison industrial complex, and now we're being shot down in the streets. There's your metamorphosis. So we have to ask ourselves, does anything really change while we just talk? Not really. In this instance, we are being victimized twice as citizens. First, taxpayers pay to train these officers, some of whom terrorize our black citizens for their amusement, shooting and killing far too many. And then the taxpayers are further victimized, having to pony up the settlement money for those so victimized. This is my suggestion. This is something that we need to contemplate. Introduce legislation, since you are the legislative faction, to confiscate these officers' pensions to offset the cost of these settlements. And this will stop overnight. If this happens, this will stop. Because the problem is there's no penalty. There's no recompense. There's nothing that they have to do to settle. But if those pensions are right, they raid those pensions to pay these settlements, this will stop. Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to acknowledge one of our colleagues in public service, Judge Emanuela Groves. Judge Groves, thank you for being here tonight. Please, Miss Bell, please.
Good evening. My name is Aridell Bell, and I'm a volunteer with the Leesville Miles Citizen Council. Also, I am a concerned citizen, and I live in Ward 1, of course. First of all, I want to let everybody know that I support the Cleveland Police Department. What I do not support is lack of communication. There was poor communication when we had that chase, when that couple was killed with all those gunshots. Yeah, 137. Do we really know which officer was the one who actually killed the couple? Okay. So you're saying all of them, but how many were charged? Only one. So if one was charged and all of them were involved, they all should have been in charge. However, due to lack of communication, I feel no one should be charged. I'm only expressing my opinion.
It's okay. You have the floor, and you have a right to express your opinion.
Considering how many officers it was, we don't know the ones who actually got the right information to do the chase in the first place. So I'm speaking on lack of communication. Due to lack of communication, the police do not have the proper equipment that they need to follow these, to get the proper information. It had to be a lack of communication. And as far as the shooting with Tamir Rice, I feel that was a very bad tragedy. There are too many tragedies in the neighborhood. Now it was reported that the police arrived 2 seconds and then shot the boy. Now I don't know if they told him to put his hands up, but from that picture, it looked like he was walking toward the car. I'm not sure, but it looked like he was walking toward the car. Right, he was being a child. He did not know that his life, I don't think he knew that his life was in danger. And what I would like to say is, we need to educate these children on what to do if they are approached by the police. Now, if you come down to our meetings, Lisaville Miles, you would be able to get one of these cards. And it tells you exactly what you're supposed to do if you are approached by the police. The first thing, you should be quiet and polite. That's the first thing. And then you have other rules on here. You are to stay in control of your emotions. I'm not going to go through all of this because it's too much. But this is one of those things that I wrote down on that sheet of paper.
Could we all, let's all respect Ms. Lee. She has the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Lee, please continue. Or Ms. Bell, I'm sorry.
Now, when Tamir, I still want to speak on that.
Yeah,
when
please.
Tamir got shot, the police also said he anticipated him to run. Now, my question is, which we don't know the answer to, would the police have shot him in his back? We don't know. That's why we have to educate our children. That's the main thing. We have to educate them so they can know that they can't run, they can't talk. Just put your hands up and be still and follow directions. In addition to that, too many of our children do not respect authority. This can be in the home. I'm saying too many because we do have some good children. We do have some good children, but we are focusing on how to fix what we need fixed. Sometimes they don't respect authority in church, in school especially, in the streets, with the police, with the neighbors. So we need to work on that. They don't know. They don't know. They feel they can do what they want to do, and we just got to fix it. If we know the solution, if we know the problem, we know the solution is easy. We know what to do. We just got to do it. In addition, there are too many young children and adults killing each other. We hear too much gunfire in our neighborhood, and we say the police won't do nothing. Well, they can't do anything if no one wants to tell what they see. We must get involved. Now, Ms. Brown spoke about the captain coming to our meetings. He would bring these reports and tell us all about what police reports, whether it was violence, whether it was gunshots, robbery, burglary. He would give us statistics. But we're just a small group, and we really work hard. We just have to get involved. We can't keep our mouths shut. And that's how come I say the police needs updated equipment. I think they should be equipped with everything they need because safety is a priority. And also, don't say you don't have the money, because when somebody is suing the city, the money comes from somewhere. So don't say you don't have the money. And the last thing I want to say is the police department used to be well respected. And it needs to be respected again today. So we need to figure out a way to build trust in our department. Whatever needs to be gotten out should be gotten out, and whatever needs to stay needs to stay. And we need to look at rules again. Might have to go back to the basics and then build from that.
Thank you. Thank
So
you,
I
Ms.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
Hello. I'm very honored to be here today among citizens and residents whose ancestors built this country on the backs of their free labor and who have never been given proper reparations for the work that they did. I'm very honored to be among such a wise body of amazing people first. Secondly, I'd like to address the respected members of council. We need you. You're very important, and your work overseeing the Cleveland Division of Police is extremely important. I think already the safety committee, and these are my personal opinions now, the safety committee of the Cleveland City Council should be expanded. Your workload is too much. You're overseeing the fire department, you're overseeing EMS, you're overseeing the police, you're overseeing the wrestling committee and all the safety issues related to buildings. I highly recommend that because we have the problems with the police department, that we pare down some of that work and that you give intensive focus to the Cleveland Division of Police. This problem is a long time in coming, and it's going to take a long time to correct it. And while we are not here as residents to place blame, we are here to assign responsibility. And I think taking responsibility is extremely important here, and owning up to the systemic nature of the systematic problems is very important. And I do sincerely hope that our mayor will slightly change his terminology, and before solving a problem, we have to admit the level of seriousness of the problem. It is a systemic problem, and the Department of Justice report clearly lays out the in-depth nature of that problem. Now, speaking of the Department of Justice, under Attorney Eric Holder, this is his most important work, and that is overseeing the use of force and incorrect police practices around the country. This is not the only findings letter. He's doing this in at least 20 different police departments to a various nature around the country, including helping to reform the New Orleans Police Department, where they actually shot people on that bridge after Katrina and burned their bodies and put them in the trunk of a car, and they were engaged in a criminal conspiracy to violate people's civil rights. In Seattle, the police killed an unarmed Native American wood carver as he was walking across the street with a small whittling knife, whittling in broad daylight in a crosswalk. He was killed. So this is happening around the country, as we all know. The problem is deep and systemic, but we now have a golden opportunity to correct this if we work together. But working together means we do need to assign responsibility, and we all need to work together to solve the problem. Now, I am with a group of academic leaders, attorneys, scholars, experts in police issues who've done extensive research on this, church groups. We're all coming together to form a kind of community collaborative for police reform and a citizens group for safe and fair policing. So we're going to need the support of everyone in the community to work on this problem. And what we're recommending, at least initially, and this is for members of council and for Cleveland City executives, we want a thorough revision of the use of force policies, including the use of deadly force, to include, among other things, the requirement that all officers involved in any situation involving use of force submit a written report explaining the need for force, the identity of all participants, and the supervisor's acknowledgement of this. Right now, as it stands, I'm a little bit nervous.
It's
This
okay.
is a very
Here,
complicated
let me
problem.
ask you. I know who you are. Why don't you tell the group who you are? You never.
Okay, well, my name is Julia Shearson. I'm with the largest Muslim civil rights organization in the country. We have 35 chapters around the country, and we're working on these issues everywhere in collaboration with many other civil rights groups, including groups from Washington that are very well aware of what is happening. There are many groups working on this problem. We all need to get together in communication. Now, the devil is in the details, folks, so bear with me because this problem is complicated. What's happening right now is when use of force is happening, not all officers are reporting that there was a use of force. As a matter of fact, the Cleveland Police Department doesn't even seem to consider when you draw your gun that that's a use of force. It is. Now, use of force falls under the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution because use of force is considered a seizure under the Fourth Amendment. Now, this is important because the Department of Justice has clearly established a pattern and practice of violation of the Fourth Amendment. Now, they didn't just look at use of force, they looked at many other issues. And one of the fundamental issues that has gone wrong is that we do not have bias-free policing. Now, at minimum, we need constitutional policing, but that's the floor level. We need much higher. We need very solid community policing that is not just a program here or there ad hoc. We need a philosophy of community policing and building respect. Back to the use of force. Right now, not all officers are reporting their use of force, and sometimes the officer who actually uses force isn't even the one that writes the report. If everybody has to write a report, now there are some legal hurdles to that, but if everybody has to write a report, you've got a good number of narratives about what actually happened, and people have to sign their name to it, and you can look at those various narratives. So we need that. Okay, that's very important. So we acknowledge who was there at the scene. Now we need to collect and analyze, and we have to have public reporting on all these incidents involving use of force, because what we need is what's called an early warning system. That's a kind of database built on how the police are operating and acting, just like companies use, right? Where we get an early warning of which officers are doing things incorrectly and need to be flagged so that their supervisors can put a stop to that. Also, from that early warning system, you get data about where you need to improve your training. So you have to have this good, sound data collection. Now, in addition to that, we need to know the data about who is being stopped, okay? Because we know that black folk are being, black men are 21 times more likely to be killed by police than a white person. And we know that every 28 hours, we believe that an African American is killed by some kind of security force, whether it's police or private security. So there's a problem there, and there's definitely a race issue. Even though the DOJ report doesn't line that out, they have admitted that it underpins the entire report. So take faith there, all right? Now, we need, and this is where City Council comes in. I would try to hurry up, but this is extremely important. And I want the community to know, because they're engaged in a lot of self-blaming. And this is not the fault of the African American people, what is happening to them. And I really do not want to hear them blame their children for what is happening. Their children are not to blame, okay? People need to take responsibility who have been elected and put in office to do a job. So in this instance, what we need from City Council is comprehensive anti-profiling legislation. That is extremely important. There's lots of good model legislation out there. That needs to be passed yesterday. So please, we ask you to get to work on that, and there are models out there that will get to everything that will help the Latino, Hispanic, that will help the Muslim, South Asian, that will deal with African American issues. Please get to it. Respectfully. We need a bias-free policing program with high-caliber professional training. By the way, under that bias-free anti-racial profiling legislation, we want a private right of action. We want to be able to sue if our rights are violated due to profiling. And you need good statistics on that, so we need good statistics. Okay, I'm going to go much faster now. Everybody's asking for revision of the Civilian Review Board. That has to be, they have a lot of powers right now, but that is not being used. All right, we need revision of the procedures for investigatory stops, search and seizure policy, including the use of canines. We need community engagement and transparency And this needs to be on a systematic, not an ad hoc level. I'm sure this won't make the media, so I don't really care about that. I want to get to the people.
Take a drink and just hold on a minute, Miss Julia.
All right.
Just take a drink and just.
This is
you
so
still have
serious.
the floor. You still have the floor. I just want to make one comment. You have the floor. The council has been working with several individuals in this room on an anti-profiling ordinance, so that's already in the works. And I just want you to understand, and everyone in the room, in June of this year, City Council passed legislation that adopted that comprehensive software that you just spoke to. So we're in the process of setting that up right now. So I just wanted you to be aware that both of those things are already in place. So continue with your other thoughts, because I want to give time to everyone else. Ms. Searson, you're a very articulate, passionate woman, and we're going to have so many more meetings. I want to give everyone that opportunity.
I do understand.
Please continue.
On the database system, I believe
we're not going to go back to database.
There have been some past problems with it, and the chief had said that he'd abandoned it and it started something else.
No, we just bought new software.
Okay.
Next issues.
Good. We'll need oversight over that to make sure it works.
Next issues, Julia.
We need revision of periodic psychological evaluation criteria for all law enforcement. We need proper training of all personnel, including support personnel and dispatchers, so that when the dispatcher hears that it may be a fake gun, they don't lose that point, and that point doesn't get out to the computers that should be in every car, right? So dispatchers need to be trained too on community policing, utilization of technology, and bias-free policing. We need open records. The city of Cleveland is shameful in its responses to open records, sometimes taking more than 11 or 12 months. You're far behind Columbus. We should get the records in a prompt manner in accordance with Ohio law. So there's no excuse for slagging on open records. That is the fundamental principle of an open society and a democracy, that we have access to the records we need, including prompt response for police records as well. We need a revision of the collective bargaining agreement to address the concerns related to the use of excessive force and other issues. We need a comprehensive recruitment program that is looking for people from diverse communities so that the police will look like the communities they serve. And then I would add personally, finally, to oversee all of this, I think that this city has enough problems that require creative solutions that we need an inspector general, like in New Orleans and like in New York and like in Los Angeles and like in Detroit, to monitor these things and work for the people, an independent inspector general that analyzes all these policies and makes sure that long after the DOJ is gone, long after the monitor is gone, long after city council goes back to its regular business, and long after the people go back to their regular 9 to 10 at night jobs and taking care of their families, that the inspector general would be fixing and working on these problems for the people of the city of Cleveland and for the residents of Northern Ohio. I beg, I'm so sorry for taking so much time, but this is extremely important.
Thank you, Ms. Searson. I see that. So here's what I'm asking. First of all, Ms. Searson has done an incredible amount of research. She knows what she's talking about. And I gave her a little extra latitude. I'm asking if everybody would consider keeping your comments 3 to 5 minutes so we can hear all voices tonight. I do want to recognize one more colleague in public service, Judge Charles Patton, who used to represent this community on Cleveland City Council. Thank you. Please, your name and where you're from.
I was born and raised in Cleveland. I lived there my whole life until 15 years ago I moved to Olmsted Falls. My name is Bernadette Rowland. My son was Daniel Ficker, who was shot and killed by the Cleveland police. He was white, and the Cleveland police were white that shot him. He lived in Parma. In case you didn't hear the story, the 2 officers came from Cleveland, crossed the line into Parma without authorization from Parma. One police officer was on duty, the other one was off duty. They were driving in the police vehicle. The supervisor that let the one officer cross the line, that he didn't know the other one was in the car with him, was one of the officers that also let the cars go to the 137 bullet shooting, okay? So if they would have stopped him a year and a half prior, maybe, and disciplined him, maybe that wouldn't have happened to the Melissa and Timothy a year and a half later. This here in my hand are letters that I've written to the mayor, to Flask, to McGrath, and anybody who has an email on the city, which could be You guys, okay? None of these letters have been answered, and it's 3.5 years later, and here I am again asking for you guys to do something. Those police officers are still working. They've not been disciplined. Are you kidding me? I go to a restaurant and I bump into an officer that kills my son. Do I have to do that? Nothing can be done to these officers? Really? I mean, nobody can acknowledge us except when we come to these forums and have to come and do this. The last time that I did this was when I had a forum for 137 bullets. Then I went there, and then Martin Flask wants to talk to me at that meeting, okay? But why do I have to come to you guys? No condolences, nothing, absolutely nothing. My son was a human being who left 2 children behind, and nobody seems to care and let the police run rampant. The police cannot police themselves, and they cannot investigate themselves. It took over a year for them to do the what's that report called? No, the report from the other police, the internal affairs report. The internal affairs report was 1,100 pages long. Okay. Did anything happen to anybody? Absolutely not. It's loaded. It's loaded with problems that both of those officers did wrong, and nothing happened to them. Okay, then we go to the Office of Professional Standards. For what? We made a complaint twice. Has anything been done? Have they contacted us? Have they done anything? No. Nobody's doing anything. The police cannot police the police. There needs to be a third party, an independent party. Thank you, Department of Justice. Thank you for coming here and doing this finally. It's a shame that people had to get killed for you to come here. People lost their lives for nothing,
Ms. Flicker, did you want to give that to us, or is they? No. Okay. Please. Hold on. Let please. Shh.
My name is Dennis Ficker. I'm Daniel's father. Actually, the discipline for these officers was put off because of our lawsuit, which they could not come up with another time they have ever done that, and said they would never do it again. It's 3.5 years later. They still have not been disciplined. In the internal affairs report, they recommend at least one of them get fired. Nothing's been done. That's ridiculous. And actually, one of the officers is not on the force anymore. He's retired, collecting his pension. So he got help when getting was good. The other one, I'm not sure of his status. The systemic problem here is culture inside the police department. It's been there forever. McGrath, Flask have to go. Period. There's no way around it. You can't just keep putting the same people in the same positions and giving them promotions and expect things to change. It's the definition of insanity, is it not? I mean, you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. That is insanity. It's not going to happen. The training needs to be outsourced to the state level, have the state come in, pay them to train these officers to do their jobs correctly. There's a couple other things.
Take your time.
It's a little...
I will tell you that there is legislation pending that we're about to... There's legislation pending that we're going to hear after the first of the year that's going to specifically speak to that point you just made about training. But okay. Continue.
And the union has way too much power. Since when did they have all the power to do what they do? Isn't their job primarily to barter for wages and benefits? I thought that's what the union was. But this is not 1972 Jimmy Hoffa era. And that's what they make it seem like around here. And I'm more scared of them than I am the police, to be honest with you. And I think everybody in this room is, including the council. They have everybody's hands tied and nobody can do anything. Even when police do get disciplined, they come around, get their mediators, and get it reversed. You got cops who are just disciplined now suing the police department. Really? Really? As that's what it's come to? They really feel that entitled that they can just turn around and sue the people that feed them? I just don't understand a lot of what's going on. And you don't need to wait for the Justice Department to come down and do what they got to do. There are things you can do. You can put pressure on and get McGrath and Flask out of here. There are things you can do. I mean, if you're really serious about doing things, instead of coming here and just, listening to everybody, show them that you're listening, and show people that you hear them. They got to go. Call the police chief down in Cincinnati. See if he wants to come up here and take this stuff over. He seems to be doing a pretty damn good job.
Thank you, Mr. Flicker. Again, I'd like to ask everyone 3 to 5 minutes if possible, please. Tell us your name, sir.
Good evening. My name is Al Bridges. I'm a lifelong resident of Ward 1. I was here when it was Ward 13. And just briefly, I'm going to use a very nasty word. Systemic. It's something that our mayor detests. Systemic is a word that never is attached to anything good. The mayor has a right to select his cabinet members. If you don't like or we don't like the members he selected, we got to make a decision. Either he flips them out or we flip him out. I spent my entire career in the South. Entire career, South. Returned to Cleveland and have been stopped more here in the city in Northeast Ohio than I ever was in the South. Just statistically, as a black male, you will outlive me, all you white guys. I'm more afraid to get stopped and get killed by the police than I am to walk the streets at night. Something's wrong. You call yourself legislators, start legislating. You control the money. You control it. Councilman Jeff, I respect you. You came out, spoke from your heart. I believe it was Councilman Zone did the same thing. You have 2 men with 42 years of law enforcement experience, and you have a problem like this. I'm from corporate America. I'd have been fired. They would have FedExed my boxes home. Something's wrong. I would like to work for the mayor. I admire Frank Jackson. He's loyal to a fault. But the people who work for him don't return the loyalty. They don't. Those 2 gentlemen, the 123rd Street women, Michael Pipkin, Tamir Rice, we can go on and on. Now we have a true problem. We have a mayor who says, I don't like what the Justice Department found. Really? Really? It's an independent look. Several things that the city should do, whenever an officer is involved in use of force, the police should never police itself. I served as an internal auditor. You can't do it. Either get the Attorney General or call the FBI, IRS, and whoever it is. Because, as everybody has said, the police cannot police itself. An earlier gentleman mentioned Richard Nixon. During the Watergate hearings, one question was asked. When did you know and when did you know it? You can't tell me a police force the size of Cleveland didn't have a policy to look at personnel records. I can't get a job at McDonald's without being a background investigation. You had an officer who's going to be relieved. Those 2 gentlemen were in place when that happened. Now something's going on here. Either they get bad information fed up to them, they go into the mayor and say everything is okay. Statistically, they should know something was wrong. You don't have a city of approximately 500,000 people, 1,000 police officers, you only have 4 or 5 incidents of use of force, that don't jive. Doesn't jive. The irony of any police force, you love them when you need them. You hate them when you don't, when they don't show up. That's the biggest problem out here. You call at 9 on Monday, they show up on 10:30 on Thursday. I'm gonna say this to the councilman. Don't knock on anybody's door and ask to put a sign in the yard. Don't. Be there for your constituents. This isn't just a black issue. You heard from the couple before me. This is a human issue. We have a problem in Cleveland, and it has to be fixed. You know, I don't care if the RNC, DNC, NAACP, Urban League, whoever don't want to come here. I don't care. You know what I want? I want to feel safe. When I go out and I get stopped, I really shouldn't have to have a yellow card. I get stopped, first thing I do, hands up. Hello, officer, how you doing? And I've been told to shut the you-know-what up. Why are you stopping me, officer? Shut up. I just need to know. Tell me what you're stopping me for. I'm not going to tell you. You got me hemmed up on the street for 45 minutes, and then you come back and say, well, I don't see you on the street no more. Really? We got a problem. Now, there's some good officers. One ruins it for 20. It really does. But you have the power. You have the authority. Stand up. You know, stop, and excuse me, stop kissing butt to the mayor. Stop it. Don't do it anymore. If you don't like what he's doing, stand up and say so. And fight him. Fight him. Because, see, something's eventually going to happen to y'all, too. You're not going to get stopped. You're going to be in an unemployment line. Do your job.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges.
To Reverend Stewart, to Judge Manuela Groves, to Judge Charles Patton, to the president of the Lee Harvard Association, Mr. Eugene Brown, to the former president of the Lee Harvard Association, Mr. T. Vernon Collier, to one of our old, long, hard fighters and workers out in this neighborhood, Mr. Drew Chilius, and to all who had the opportunity to take the time out their evening, good evening. Oh, sorry, Ms. Brown, President of the Lee Seville Council. My name is Joe Jones. I'm a lifelong resident of Ward 1. And I've seen some issues that go all the way back. I see some of my 21st Congressional District caucus friends. Where you guys at? Right, fighting. All the way back to the Arthur Fechner case where police sold drugs to the black neighborhood. We're talking about totally destroyed our community. How do you recover from that? And then we find ourselves in the same situation with soup warmed over. And I live on 178th Street in Target. And on that corner, I've observed so many drug deals, and I've called in concerning those issues. We've had drug houses, we've had all kinds of problems, and I've called it in and kept calling in. Nothing happened. Now, my father raised me up to say, no, sir, yes, sir, to the police officer. And so I raised my son up today to say, no, sir, yes, sir, to the police officer. And the reason being is because that police officer don't know my son. He doesn't know my son is a straight A student. He doesn't know that he's a good kid. There's a culture in this city and throughout this nation where you shoot first and ask questions later. That can't be tolerated. You have to follow certain procedures and protocols. Now, there are some great police officers who do a lot of good work in our community, both black and white. And you can't do one unjust act and then go back and do another unjust act. When I was the councilman out in this neighborhood and represented this community, we had Michael McGrath as the commander. He was a great commander. And I know that there has been calls for his head. And they want somebody to fall down on a sword. But I have met with this man in my house. I've met with this man in my office. And I've met with this man out in this community. And we ain't never had such a great man as Michael McGrath representing the 4th District ever. He took care of business out here. When there was a problem, you could get on the phone and call him as the average citizen, and he was there. Now, I've heard some of the friends calling, he works for somebody. He's got to follow the lead of his boss. And at the end of the day, you cannot call for one unjust act against another. Those 2 police officers there, I just don't know, I just can't understand how it is that they told this young man to hold his hands up. They must have been yelling out the window as they was pulling up, shooting him out the window at the same time. When I saw that video, it was appalling. And it makes no sense to me that as we stand here, we got all the media over here, and we got all you guys here, and you're collecting data, and hopefully by the end of the day, something's going to happen. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe you just go home and go to sleep. Because we've been talking about police brutality in the city of Cleveland for a very long time. And this ain't the first time we've had these issues. Now, I don't believe that this council or this mayor has the capacity to solve this issue, or the mayors or councils across this nation have the ability to resolve this issue. Why? I've never, not one time out of the 46 years that I've been living, ever hear the police union president stand up and say, yeah, that officer was wrong. He should be brought to justice. He did a bad job. You don't hear that. And you've heard eloquently what all of the ones before me had to say about a myriad of issues. One of the issue is you cannot police, the police cannot police the police. The mayor can't make an appointment to the review board. It's a political appointment. The police union is so powerful that who wants to prosecute the police? So from Corrigan all the way on down to where you are now, everybody's passing the buck. They tried to pass it to the Republican at the state level, and he passed it right back to you. And now you done pass it over to the federal government, and he done passed it back to you. And now so what you do, you got a political football. If you want to change and make justice in America, you have to begin the process to prosecute those who practice the law and go above the law and think they're above the law in every way. Those police officers that gunned down those people in East Cleveland, I don't even see why not. There hasn't been a call for one of them to be fired. Not a one. Now, I will say this because I talked to the commander the other evening, and he said, I have tried to have these people fired, but they go through the arbitration process with the union. The council has negotiated such a strong union contract that there ain't nothing they can do with the union. And if they try to do something against the union, then the union gonna try their best to make sure that they don't retain office again. If the prosecutor of the county try to do something against the police union, then they're gonna make sure that he doesn't get elected again. So now what you have is a major issue. Now, I'm not against the union. I like unions. I think unions are important to protecting the interest of the American hope of the American pie. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is our babies are dying in the street. And at the end of the day, nobody's doing anything. I think the gentleman ahead of me, NAACP, the Urban League, all of these organizations that so-called represent our neighborhood ain't out here. And when our young boys die like this, no one says anything about it. And just because you have these issues that we are talking about here today, these issues are happening every day in the streets of the city of Cleveland. And all you got to do, every one of you guys get police reports. They're happening constantly, over and over again. These just seem to make the media. So I would suggest to the council that there's a couple of things that you got to revamp. In order to make the justice system just, the grand jury process needs to be changed. It should be a process open to the public. It should not just have public jurors, but it should have judges appointed to those positions who know the law and who can hold accountable the prosecutor. You need to have, if that doesn't work, you need to encourage the federal government, the FBI, to investigate the police, because they don't have to worry about getting elected to public office. Have them make the investigation and then have them prosecute. Because at the end of the day, if they don't investigate and don't prosecute, I don't have no faith that anything is going to change, because nothing has changed since 1989 when police officers, and we still don't know if they're still selling drugs in our neighborhood. We don't have a clue what's going on. And so at the end of the day, when the dust settled, we have to be able to hold everybody accountable. No one should be above the law. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jasmine Johnson. I'm the sister of Tanisha Anderson, 37-year-old African-American woman who was killed in front of her home by Cleveland Police Department.
Hold on a second. Now would be a good time to mute everyone's phone. Please continue.
Okay. I'd like to say this. You know, the Cleveland Police Department has failed. The system has failed. We all know that tremendously. It's not only failed my family, but it has also failed the people of Cleveland. Negligence, recklessness, poor and inadequate training is the issue here. It's a public health issue. That's what the DOJ is about. If these officers continue what they're doing, the people of Cleveland, we are at risk, at serious risk, and especially the African American community, as you know. Now, as far as the dissent decree is concerned, I have a list of demands for my family. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I have a list of demands on behalf of my family for the Cleveland Police Department. It's been over a month since my sister died. We have yet to get a cause of death. So, we demand the county coroner to rule my sister's death a homicide, and we demand the criminal indictment of the two officers responsible for my sister's death. Now, we also demand that the names of the two officers involved in her death be released publicly. Why don't we know their names? None of us. Not only does the family want the names, but I believe the people would like to know their names. Somehow they've escaped public scrutiny. So, and as far as the DOJ is concerned, as you know, the DOJ has cited excessive force their findings of excessive force against persons who are mentally ill or in crisis, including in cases where the officers were called exclusively for a welfare check. And that's exactly what they were called for in my sister's case. So they slammed an unarmed woman to the ground who did not pose as any threat, but officers claimed that she was a threat. And in turn, my sister lost her life due to this force. She was forced beyond her will to get into a police car. She had the right. She has constitutional rights that were completely violated on every level. And she lost her life because of poor and inadequate training and recklessness, negligence. Okay? Now, I'd also like to demand proper mental health training as well as mental health assessments prior to hiring or recruiting new Cleveland police officers. And I'm sorry, I'm a little bit unorganized. Hey, we're all unorganized sometimes. Okay. So, in a nutshell, we demand better educated police officers, police supervisors, and administrators at stations, better police training, more effective communication systems, special de-escalation team to work with the mentally ill, women and youth, and you should never, as you know, restrain any of these groups for any reason, especially if they're unarmed and don't pose any type of threat at all. So I asked this in the last meeting, what is the justification for death? What's the justification for excessive force, to be shot? What is it? Someone to kick, maybe scream, to yell, to restrain? That shouldn't be it. I shouldn't, or anyone else in this room should not lose their life on account of them resisting. That's not enough. It's not enough. So I just want to let you all know that on behalf of my family, we demand, we deserve answers, and we deserve justice to be served on behalf of not only us, but other members of the community who's lost their families to poor, trained Cleveland police officers. I'm not done yet. Hold on. Now, I'd also like to say, as I said in the last meeting, excuse me. Okay. One more thing. We'd also demand the Cleveland Division of Police to halt their current hiring campaign in its entirety until retraining is complete. It has to be completed thoroughly. These officers are, and it's not their fault. The system is broken. And we demand that any officer involved in a killing of a civilian will be immediately and thoroughly investigated by an independent review board and prosecuted, if warranted, by a prosecutor not affiliated in any form with the Cleveland Division of Police. I thank you.
I see we have 6 people left, and 7. Thank you, Genevieve. Please come to the mic. I, again, ask everyone maybe 3 to 5 minutes if possible, please.
For the record, and on the record, my name, The People. I live amongst the people. Mm-hmm. I stand here in front of you exercising my First Amendment constitutional right. As you are aware, y'all are all public servants, from public officials to police officers, and you all took an oath to uphold and protect the constitutional rights of the people. And I haven't, because you violate my constitutional rights, that's violation of United States Code, Title 18. I know you know how I go, anybody under the definition of the color of law. Try to convert my constitutional right into a crime. You lose your bond, find yourself unbondable. I know you know how it goes. So at this time, once again, I would exercise my constitutional right. I would try to be very courteous of time, because I haven't seen nowhere on any piece of paper saying that there was a certain time limit for a forum to hear the people. And it should be the answering forum instead of the listening forum, because the art of conversation is to listen and return with that. So I came here tonight because I received my DOJ report about 10 years ago when I realized and found out that there was a police station behind Victoria's Secret in Tower City where I was taken back by a sergeant and assaulted. So that was my DOJ report. So this right here, I know is nothing new. But I like to say the system is broken because the system we live in is called civil engineering. The school systems has been shut down to it's 45 kids in one classroom to one teacher. Only 20 desks, probably 10 books. So after half of them drop out about 6th grade, they're going to run up and down the streets because they can't go to the rec centers or there's no library, no computers at the library, or they took down the basketball courts and all that other good stuff. So they wind up inside of the juvenile system. See, yes, I'm gonna look at it's two sides to the mirror. It starts at home and it starts at school. But the kids are not being taught nothing at school that's really gonna help them and develop them. And the parents that's at home teaching them kids went through the same school system. So it's like, you know what I mean? But the black male between 18 and 25 is an endangered species on both sides of the mirror. Once we stop killing ourselves and respect our own lives, everything would go better. Then everybody over here would do the same thing. But everybody over here is not trained to do so. Sometimes I ride through here, I don't know if I'm still in Afghanistan, Baghdad, or Iraq, because half of the cops I see out here just came from over there with PSD and they trigger happy. How is it that this young man was doing anything illegal or a crime for having a BB gun that he can buy or his moms can buy legally in a store? Where was the procedure when they ran up on the side of him and just opened fire? Where, I'm not for sure, but I know it's at least about 10, 15, or 20 feet where you feel to stop from someone if you feel like yourself is in danger to really assess the situation. And then again, Ohio has an open to carry law. His constitutional rights was violated because you do have the right to bear arms, even though it was a hunting air BB toy gun that all do not find in the stores with an orange or red band around them identifying them as a toy. So the only one that committed a crime is the store that sold the BB gun or the people that made it. Then you have a woman that was slammed in front of her kids in her home because she called for help. The same help that they all stood there with their white gloves on, took an oath and said, I will protect the people who serve and protect their constitutional rights and everything else. And the Constitution, the land of the law, overweighs any ordinance. But no, she didn't get no help. She got slammed to the ground and now she's no longer here. Oh, this is on the record, for the record. I started about 7:50, December 18th, 2014. I would like to hope to find it on Channel 20 or any other website that y'all put it on because I already know media propaganda. I've been standing in this line for I don't know how long. I just heard a lot of.
I know.
Please don't. Please do not interrupt. Please do not. Please, because you violate my constitutional rights, and I don't even want to go there tonight. Because as I've been in this line, I heard a lot of influential people laughing and saying people just want to be up here for their 15 minutes of fame. But those are the same ones that's not standing up here. So it's not fame because you can turn the cameras off. Because I don't care about the fame. What I care about is our children. No money for the schools, but y'all just got marble floors on the juvenile center. $1 million chandeliers. Cleveland Clinic get a whole, what's it called? The yellow brick road? from 105 in Euclid down to East 4th in Ontario, but we don't have no money. So what is really the problem? That's civil engineering at its finest. Because, you know, the third grade test that they failed 356 kids this year, that's on an average of, by the time they turn 18, how many kids going to be going into the juvenile system or the penitentiary system, keep it going on the, let's say, the slave mentality or the debt servitude. So the really issue is that it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 people sitting here, probably only 2 people taking notes. So how are y'all really listening in and gonna go back and read and see what about 30 people just stood here and said? Because I already seen you take notes when you found it beneficial to you when I agree with the Cleveland Police Department, which they do. They protect and serve the constitutional rights. See, our rights are being violated. That's the problem. That's the issue. The nations never came together. So we live in a nation within a nation. Well, I will listen to Mama. I have respect for my elders. That I will do. Because I was taught to give someone respect, you must get respect. Not that, oh, somebody runs up there, stand there, don't move, because in the last 2 months, there have been 3, 4 police impersonators. One pulled over an off-duty Akron cop. So he was so good that he fooled someone that was trained. So we have to teach our children, yes, and you also have to teach your children, Children Police Department, Cleveland Police Department, that to get respect, you have to give respect, and that's from the people. My mama asked me to step down, so now I will step down.
Thank you. So I do want to remind everyone, every second of this forum is being taped. Our staff is sitting over there taking copious notes, every single comment. Each of the members will get a transcript of that. Everything is being recorded. So I just wanted to inform you. Please, your name and where you live.
My name is Secondra Beasley.
Hold on a second.
Okay. My name is Secondra Beasley, and I reside in East Cleveland. I would like to make a recommendation. When I was at Kent State University studying individual and family studies, we were required to understand human development from the time a child is born until they passed away. I'm asking that for future police training, that is in consideration, the human development, because how a child acts during a situation is not something that police officers can be trained on, but it's something that they need to be focused on in the back of their head while they're trying to de-escalate a situation. I'm also requesting, again, from my studies, that we also learned the significance of mental illness, the causes of mental illness, why mental illness occurs, and how people are treated when they are put under stressful situations. So I'm asking that, in addition to that, that the police department also get training from an organization like NAMI and actually talk to people who are mentally ill and have been affected by being victimized by the police, so they have a better sense of how to treat people when they are dealing with that type of population. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
My name is Keita Thompson, and I am a renter resident of Shaker Heights. I am also mentally ill. I am bipolar. The first thing that I want to encourage the police department to do is to get some serious cultural competence training. If you have not lived our lives, you cannot in any way understand what we go through when we see are African American males and females gunned down for no apparent reason. Hands up, don't shoot. I am also the godmother of one of the Imperial victims. When that red flag did not go up, when the woman was running outside naked, outside that house, and no one even cared to investigate. Perhaps Talasha Alexander Fortson would be here with us today. At the time of her discovery, her three children were 2, 4, and 6. We finally had a groundbreaking, but it is imminent in our society, in the North America, where the Native Americans were the first ones to be pillaged. When they did not do the work, they came and got my ancestors. I want you to understand that my anger is directed at people who call murderers authorities is inappropriate. They are no authority over anybody. They are of the human race just as you are. I understand they make mistakes, but there are too many mistakes. You're supposed to learn from your mistakes. And you are going to force these young people to adopt by any means necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Councilman. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Okay.
Tell everyone who you are.
My name is Pat Brown. I'm a small business owner, educator, and precinct person. Long-term resident of Ward 1. But today, I'm here as a community member. I'm concerned about the welfare and the safety of my community and the children in our community. The Department of Justice came here and gave the city a report of their findings. And I can't understand why we can't take a look at that report, respect it, and do something about it. What are we going to do? The suggestions were to get police cameras. Are we going to get police cameras? We need police cameras. We need our community to feel safe. Okay, we have older people in our community. They shouldn't fear, after paying taxes in this community for 60, 70 years, have to feel unsafe in their own community, as well as our children. In addition to that, the reportings to the FBI. Currently, the police departments do not have to make a report to the FBI if they kill someone without a weapon, murder someone carelessly or whatever. There's no reports made to the FBI. We need reports made to the FBI on innocent individuals that's killed without weapons or however. That's a recommendation.
Okay.
We need an independent committee made up of community members, council, as well as police members. Okay? We need a voice from the community at the table. Okay? To have an input, to speak for us. We need that. In addition, for the past several years, I have offered a program to teach our children healthy, sustainable skill sets. I would like to see that program implemented in our community where we're teaching our kids safety and healthy skill sets and teaching them the law and how to protect themselves and their rights. Lastly, we want a timeline of the body cameras, transparency, in addition to FBI reportings. Okay, we want to know what's the timeline. I mean, is there going to be a committee formed? When is the committee going to be formed? Is it going to be a transparent thing where members of the community are going to vote for these people? Yeah.
So, Ms. Brown, stay right there. All the questions you're asking, council's asking the same questions. I do want to encourage you at some point, follow up with Councilman Simperman. He chairs our health committee and the Healthy Cleveland Initiative. I think the initiative you're talking about would complement nicely what Councilman Simperman is championing for us. We get the questions a lot, all of my colleagues, around body cameras. We've already selected a contractor. Cameras are going to be rolled out next month in the 4th District.
Thank you. 3rd
District the month after in February. In the month of March, they're going to come to the 5th District and the 2nd District. Okay. And then the following month in April, they'll be in the 1st District. They will be fully operational, 1,000 cameras throughout the entire city of Cleveland. All frontline officers will have that after the first quarter of next year. Okay. But we still have the council, and we are getting involved with seeing how that policy can be shaped on how you review that information and who reviews it. I don't have an answer for you now, but I thank you for your comment.
Okay.
Thank
and
you,
the
Ms.
FBI reporting.
We recorded that. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Sir, please join us.
I'm going to try to make mine a little short.
Okay.
First thing, we want to thank you guys for being here because we don't get a chance to speak.
Speak louder, sir.
First, we want to thank you guys for being here because we really don't get a chance to speak for our inner city. Mm-hmm. The next thing, we want to thank all the good officers. Everybody you see in this room appreciate good officers coming around. But before I get into the bad officer, I want to say, what gets me is when I look on Fox News and see two little 8-year-old girls going around, going to the gun range and shooting assault weapons and high caliber guns. And what they saying all they want for Christmas is a high caliber weapon. Mm-hmm. Then I look at my little kids throwing away toy guns. Then I look at the other officers. When I seen an officer maybe a couple years ago put over a truck with traffic stop, and they was treating them real nice, and the two guys got out of their truck and started shooting at the officers, trying to kill them. And the officer hesitated, didn't shoot back, ducking, and bullets flying at him. And then I think they finally arrested the guys. No one took their lives. And then I look and see that we are trained, teach our children how to show obedience. I look and see that everybody say, well, tell your children to show respect to the officers and raise their hands up. If we have our hands up, period, and don't have a weapon, I don't feel that their lives should be taken. When I see these mothers, and they done lost their kids at this day and time, in Christmas time and holiday, and when they go to the table, no one walking in their shoes. No one feeling their pains. We can sit up here and say this, that, and other, but I look and see these ladies have lost their babies. And then the thing, when I look around and find that a lot of my people have went to this country and fought wars, gave up their lives to protect the United States of America. We shouldn't have this divided because of race, colors, or police sit up there taking our life. We got officers who go, like in Ferguson, that officer who killed Mike Brown, his department was, where he worked at before, even the government felt it was so bad and so racist, they put him, they fired him. They closed him down. Then they turned back around and rehired this particular guy who been taught in a certain hectic way of killing people, and they put him over and hired him in Ferguson. We had the same situation here in Cleveland. The ones who killed the little boy, right? They say this guy wasn't even needed, was supposed to be on the police force. But we want to thank you guys for your love and your kindness. We want to wish you the best.
Tell us your name.
My name is Al Barnes, and I'm Ward 1, Warrensville Heights, and we want to give simply and best to you and your family. But
Thank
a
you.
lot of these people, we haven't walked in their shoes that you lose a child.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns.
Bear with me, I'm a little nervous. I'm public speaking. But
Hello.
my name is Mornetta Cunningham, and I have been a victim of police brutality. I am 44 years old, never had a felony, but I've been a victim both physically and verbally. I have had officers that I called to the scene, just an example, and I had a problem because, as you see, I have a disabled child. So I find that makes me more of a target in a lot of situations. I've had officers that have came to the scene where I was having a dispute about somebody who took my vehicle and took my money on the pretense of selling me a vehicle. The officer, because these people happen to be white, the officer came up. Instead of asking me what he could do to help me, because I called him, he let me know. He asked me, was I sure of the people's last names? Once he found out that I was not sure of the people's last names, even though I had the receipt, he came back. He went back over to the car and talked to these people, came back, let me know that he was a hillbilly. Because these people were white that I was dealing with, that he was a hillbilly. He brought race into the factor. Needless to say, I was sent away with no information to help me. But it's also been, my son is now 19 years old. I've had police pull guns out on me because my son is severely autistic. So sometimes on the street, we might not fit into the perfect box that the police want us to fit into. So when we can't fit into the perfect box, I'm dealing with my son out on the street. They jump out, they pull their guns out on me. Okay, but I've also had time. See, I understand that there's good officers out here. I just don't see them. I know that they're good officers, but I always run into the officers who do what the other officers do.
Take your time, Ms. Cunningham.
Okay. The thing is, when the physical altercation, which I'm dealing with now, came up, it distraughted me so much and sent me into a depression for 2 years. The officers, it was all started over them wanting to tow my car. After they jumped on me, beat me down, they picked me up and dusted me off. After they come to the conclusion that everything I was telling them was the truth and the absolute truth, finally they sent a little lady officer, because it was 2 white male officers. And she explained to me as she dusted me off, oh, you know, sometimes these boys, they just get so tense. Well, I got a job that's pretty tense, but I can't whoop nobody's butt about it. There needs to be police cameras not only for police. What about when you go to talk to prosecutors and they talking to you like you're beneath them? What about when you go to talk to anybody in authority? I want them to be made to talk to me like I'm sorry, 110-pound, blonde, blue-eyed white woman. That's how I want them to talk to me. But I don't get that. I get them talking to me any kind of harsher. I've been told I'm always ignorant. I'm always in some roundabout way ignorant, and I'm tired of it. I am tired of the police department. The cameras that you have, I hope they come on as soon as the officer opens his mouth. That way he can't say what he want to say to me and belittle me before he start doing his job. I wanted to come on as soon as he opened his mouth. And one thing I'm tired about, the reason I got so upset when the physical altercation took place is because I know I didn't have anybody in my corner. I'm not going to go and ask for a complaint paper to the person's friend. I live over there in Shaker Heights. I go over there to ask for a complaint, and the lady in the corner behind the desk rolling her eyes so hard like I'm filing the complaint paper on her. That's because that officer probably gave her some donuts, and she thinks he's just the greatest guy that's around. I also believe that the protest should keep going on. I believe that we shouldn't wait till a grand jury come back to decide nothing. Whatever we need to do, we need to start doing now. No violence, but you can hit people in their pockets. And I want somebody to tell me where not to spend my money, so I won't.
Ms. Cunningham, would you do me a favor? First of all, I think you're beautiful. And I know I speak on behalf of my colleagues. I want you to go give Mr. John James, that gentleman right there, your name and phone number. After we do these hearings, in the first half of first quarter of the year, we're going to have councilmatic hearings down at City Hall around training and what is the police doing. I'd like to, personally, I'm inviting you now to come in and share your testimony because it's a powerful story.
Thank you.
Will you go see Mr. James and give him your name? Ms. Mitchell, hold on.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you. With regard, thank you, Councilman Brown. With regard to police reform, how exactly does the slave on a plantation create a consent decree to ask the Klan to stop lynching them? Although they pleaded, did Hitler's SS Guard have any compunction to stop incinerating Jews? Ethnic cleansing and apartheid are afoot here. Stephen Biko would portend that data is not required, Julia. We don't need more charts, pontificating, or more studies. Check out the coroner's office. Check out the cemetery. Across this nation, police are out of control, and the killing has to stop. If the strategic ethnic cleansing of the black, brown, and poor white folk continues, you are going to have a situation in this country, where the President of the United States is going to have to deploy the United States Army to fight the police to prevent the mass murders of civilians by police. This is a political abomination. The faith, trust, and confidence of which you seek to restore is gone. This system is broken. People are afraid of being stopped by the police at night. People are afraid of being stopped by the police in the daytime. We don't need to put more police on the force until we figure out what's wrong with the police. Redefine who are the police? Who are they here to protect? Against whom? At what cost and why? Tamir was simply mimicking what he saw in Cops, NYPD Blue, and Law and Order. He was emulating. How does a 12-year-old black boy get killed by the police, shot and killed, for emulating the police? Body cams are a joke. Eric Garner had a video. Loose cigarettes and Swisher Sweets are worth more than a black life? Well, he committed a crime, they say. Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 women for 10 years in the city. And he was brought in, he was arrested. Anthony Soule murdered 11 black women. And he was arrested, he's still alive. Charles Manson split the womb of Sharon Tate, ripped out the fetus and murdered it, and he is still in prison. Jeffrey Dahmer cut up body parts and ate the livers of his victims. He was arrested and tried and convicted. Bernie Madoff is still alive. Emmett Till's murderers went home and had dinner. Speck raped and murdered 15 white nurses, and he was arrested. Yet a black man in the United States can lose his life over loose cigarettes. What's up? Congresswoman Barbara Jordan stated that these are the nation's powder kegs waiting to explode. Human beings are being beaten and murdered by the police. They're being exterminated. And nothing is being done. If we do not get systemic change, I call on the plebiscite, the voters and the electorate of the national community. It is time for a regime change. It is time for new leadership from the top down, because something is terribly wrong here. It's our time. This is the people's moment. It is time for you to change your world. Harp Daim.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell.
Seize the moment. Here to register my support for change in Cleveland. My name is Reverend Doug Horner, resident and a pastor on the west side of Cleveland. West side is in the house. Anybody else west side? So it's obvious to you all, it's obvious to me that there's a groundswell asking for change. The United Church of Christ, my congregation, my neighbors, we want change too. Many of my neighbors are deeply, deeply hurt by the needless death of Tamir Rice. Our children, my children, our children cannot suffer this any longer. We're raising our children in this city, and who are they looking up to now? They're looking up to us, right? They're looking up to us to do something different. And if we don't go out and get our neighbors and our friends to come to these kind of meetings where we're invited to speak, and I know a lot of folks in this room, you come to a lot of things. It's the other folks who have to come and tell their stories too, because the politicians will do what the people want them to do. That's why they were elected. That's why we elected them. We're grieving, council people, good council people, public servants. Our people are grieving. And we need change and we need healing. Healing comes through community. And the Bible teaches us, the Quran teaches us that. Many of the best religious leaders teach us that our healing comes through the building of community, and that's what I'm supporting here today. And once the community becomes strong enough, the police will get pushed to the side because nonviolence wins. God always wins.
Thank you.
Hello, sir.
My name is Gregory Claret. I stay on 71st Street.
Reverend Clarence.
Gregory Claret.
Greg LeClaire.
Yeah, I stay on
Thank you.
71st Street. And I guess I'm here because this is the first time I came to a forum. But over 10 years ago, the first time somebody pulled a gun on me was a Cleveland police officer. I was on my way home, and I'm a healthcare provider. I work in this area of Parma. I work within a radius of about 30 miles, or all around Cleveland. I work all over the community. I'm not a good speaker, but I'll make this
Take
quick.
your time.
Okay. But the officers followed me one day, and when I stepped out of my car, it was at 1 o'clock at night, I was looking in the gun of a police officer. So as I stepped out of the car, the gun was pointing to my head. Now, he told me I committed a felony, which I was taken downtown to the police station, held, it's like from 3 o'clock in the morning, whatever time, until that afternoon. Now, I know there's some good police officers, because one, and I think it was the police chief now, who's now, he helped me. And a lot of police officers helped me to get the situation, because even after they arrested me, which I never was charged with anything, but they released me and told me they were sorry. I did go through a committee, and this is why I'm here, because I sit through committees, and they sit and listen to me. And they act like, and they were serious, and they act like they wanted to help. But nothing happened. But and to fast forward this, just last month, I was talking to a gentleman, we sat outside, and a police officer, while I was sitting there, walked up and slammed him against the car. I told the officer, I said, wait a minute. I said, what you doing? He said, shut up. I'm the authority here. He said, I'm the professional. I said, that's not professional. So the next thing I know, he put the guy in the police car, and then he got in my face. So I explained to him. He said, well, was you with him yesterday? I said, wait a minute. What did I have to do with this? But anyway, I went down, and the first incident, that's recorded down at the bank, because they did have a hearing for those police officers, and they got 2 days off with pay or something like that, and they told me they were sorry. But the thing is, I have and this was the 14th of last month, when the police officer grabbed this guy, and I went down to report that, but I actually went to the wrong police station, but they have that on record, and I was going to fill out a report and come back. But the thing is, they sit there, and I believe, these officers had good intentions.
Mr. Claret, can you hold on a second, please? Just to the good people in the room tonight, this is the first of many forums. We advertise this to go from 6 to 8. It's 8:30. We're going to have many more of these. After Mr. Claret's done, we're going to hear to the next gentleman, but that next gentleman behind you is going to be the last speaker.
That's
Please.
when I walked in here, and I said, because what happened to me, like, that was over 10 years ago, and then again, something happened. Because I've been stopped by many police. I can't even tell you how many times I've been stopped by police. And there are great police officers, and they're great, like I say, in the police community, there's a lot of good people. But we come and we ask for help, and we look to y'all who are supposed to be helping us. And I get this serious look, and they say, oh, yeah, we're going to do something about that. But since that time, when I got stopped by police with a gun, and every time I see a killing, a shooting, I've been thinking, I should have said something more. I mean, I did go down, I went to the board, I filed all the papers, and they had a hearing, and the police officer got whatever they got. I don't even know what they got. But anyway, you sit and you listen to us, but you do nothing. And that's why I came up here, because I don't want to see another time for somebody to come here and they tell their problems, and you do nothing. We want some help. Because every time when I see somebody get killed, one of these guys, I think, that could have been me. And the only reason it wasn't me, because I try to do what the police officers say, but the thing is, and when I look at the Cleveland police, when they come, they have a gang mentality. When they stopped, the other day when they stopped this gentleman, and I was at the party, one thing I looked around me, and I was circled around with police. And they have this game. It's like, I want to say it's like a game they're playing. They have a gang mentality about them. And like I say, I work in the healthcare field, and I know, and even the officer, when I seen him snatch the guy and throw him in his car, I don't think he's a bad officer. He's just like anybody else. He was to me, I thought he was overworked. And that's what they need to be. They need to have some time off, some psychologists or they need help. They're overworked, and that's one thing. Yeah, like I said, a lot of them aren't bad officers. We all have bad days, but the job that they took, because I've never been a police officer. I worked at correctional institutions. I worked at juvenile centers and stuff like that. But I know when you get overworked and when you're tired, a lot of these officers are just tired. They're not bad officers. Because we got a lot of good officers.
Okay.
They're just tired. That's what I just want to say. They need help.
Thank you.
The officers need help, but what
Thank
they need, like I said, and sometimes they need some psychiatrists to look at them, and that should be evaluated sometimes.
Thank you, Mr. Claret. I don't want to turn people away, but we really need to end this thing. So this gentleman right here will be the absolute last speaker. I'm asking 3 minutes each of you. Please, your name.
Thank you, Councilman. And good afternoon to all the other councilmen.
Good evening.
It's almost evening now.
Yeah.
T. Vernon Collier, long-time Ward 1 resident, former president of the Lee Howard Community Association, along with a lot of other organizations. I want to just say that I'm going to recommend that you do a better job in selecting your police officers. The other one is that, and that includes dispatchers and better training. Now, I served on the Citizens Police Review Board for 10 years. I thought it was just going to be a short span when I was appointed by Mayor White. Ended up being on there 10 years. And we had many discussions along with our discussion complaints. We had a lot of complaints. I mean, I would say that board probably worked harder than any other board that the city held. Long hours, and I thought it was going to be like 4 hours every 2 weeks. It looked like he's many more hours than that. A lot of reading, a lot of research, listen to our investigators, having police officers come in and talk with us. But we always had a discussion on more than one or several occasions. We couldn't just justify having police officers investigating police officers. But there was something wrong with that picture. We made some recommendations about maybe some other sources of doing that. And I've been off the police board for 10 years. And I heard some complaints here just most recently. And the same issues are still there. Still there. The police review board don't have any authority to discipline any officers. All you can do is make recommendations. And most of the time, those recommendations go unheard of. So nothing you can do about it. You have no recourse. So you do need to take a good look at the Citizens Police Review Board and how they select their people, and what kind of power do they have? Because when you leave the review board, when you make that recommendation, it always goes to the chief. And I remember one time we were so disgusted with what the chief was doing that we asked for a meeting with the safety director at that time to explain to him what we were doing and what kind of problem that we were having. And not only did we did that, we also had several meetings with the commanders of all the districts, talk about the issues that we were having with the police in reference to the number of complaints that we were getting, because we got numerous complaints. So as I hear, and I'm hearing some of these citizens are talking this evening, now I've been off there for at least 10 years, and I was on there for 10 years. Those same issues are evidently still there right today. So I would hope that you would take a serious consideration in looking at that and do what we elect you to do the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Collier. Thank you for your service. Please.
My name is Ken Chilius, and I am and have been for 64 years the proud son of Mr. Drew Chilius. I was born and raised in this community. My father has been active in this community since his late 20s. He'll be 94 years old next year.
God bless him.
The reason why I wanted to speak, I'm the last one, no speeches, by the way, is because my father has been dragging me out to these community meetings since I was about 11, 12 years old.
Right.
I've been to, I can't tell you how many. They've been called different names for different reasons. My point is, we keep having these meetings, and these meetings tend to occur when tragic things happen. But what I want to express, as you look around this room, and Councilman Pruitt and Councilman Johnson, you see it quite a bit. There are a lot of older people in this room. There's a lot of wisdom in this room, a lot of wisdom. I'm 64 years old, and my father raised 5 kids in this area, and I can tell you I would not be standing here today if it weren't for his wisdom in raising me and my brothers and sisters. So as you hold these forums, just be mindful as you see the crowd and the ages of the people that are here, and they're still here. You don't see many young people here.
Right.
And it's only 8:30 or so. Those are the people I think you seriously need to have smaller sessions and talk to about what happens and what's been happening and what will happen in the city of Cleveland. My father is almost 4 generations old. Okay, and I have 3 kids. I have 2 sons, and I've had concerns about. They're older now; they're in their 30s. But and the reason why I wanted to speak is I looked around this room and saw the older people, and I know many of them.
Right.
That maybe is a group that you may want to consider having some sit-down, private-type sessions with. And you might learn a lot more than you think you will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chilius. Just a few closing remarks, and then I'm going to ask the good pastor to come up here and give us a closing benediction. So I want to just acknowledge my colleagues, Councilman Kane, Councilwoman Cleveland, Councilman Simperman, Councilman Pruitt, Council President Kelly, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Brian Cummins. I can sincerely say on behalf of my colleagues, we truly care. We're coming into the community to listen. I think Pastor Doug said there are a lot of people who want to share their story. Mr. Chilius said they want to share their wisdom. That's why City Council, we're coming outside of 601 Lakeside and coming into the community. We want to create the opportunity that people can share their story, share their wisdom, make their recommendations. But I will tell you, I've been on council for 13 years. My father served on council for 14. My mother served for 8. I've been around this council for 40 years. I never, ever remember a city council, or particularly those interested in safety issues, coming out into the community and listening and doing this type of thing. We're going to continue to do it. Our next meeting is going to be at Sagrada Familia Church, which is at West 79th in Detroit. That meeting is going to be, we're going to try to do from 6 to 8. I know we ran over a little, but that's fine because all voices need to be heard. So tonight is not the last time. We want you to join us. That will be Tuesday, December 30th. We're going to have then, after the first of the year, we're going to have another forum like this in the Glenville neighborhood and another one in the Slavic Village neighborhood. We will advertise that. If you want to keep track of what's going on, what is happening, you can go to the Cleveland City Council website. All the information will be posted there. I want to thank all of you for listening, and to everyone who was speaking, respecting those who are speaking, and most of all, for letting your voice be heard. I'd like to ask Councilman Pruitt to come and introduce the pastor who's going to close us out.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for being patient, being respectful. We appreciate you coming out. If you're not necessarily from Ward 1, don't let this be the last time you come on out. We appreciate having all these folks out here and sharing this special issue with us. I'd like to call Pastor Stewart to come out and offering us the benediction this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. It's almost like church. Kind of overtime here. And it wasn't the preacher this time. We do understand, and we do appreciate the remarks from the West Side. But I have one here that says, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was evil continuously. We cannot go home and sit down and think good things. We've got to act on good things. Officer McGrath, I told him some years ago when he was commander, we wanted to put him out of business. If we could get rid of the policemen, we won't need them. That'll hit you on the way home, huh? You do know what we'd have to do, don't you? We'd have to go back to the young people. Where's Drew? Where's that boy? We'd have to train them the way, we have to give them some of our wisdom. And wisdom, of course, is not knowledge. Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge correctly in everyday situations. Lord, we thank you. We put all of our business in your hand. And whatever shall be accomplished through these meager lives of ours, we'll be careful to give you the praise. Because quiet as it's kept, you see everything that's going on. Bless us now. Bless our community and our people. For we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.